John chapter 2, verse 1 through 11 tells of the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turns water into wine. The wine was never the miracle, the turning is, and it happens inside you. This is for the one running on empty, the one whose joy has gone dry while the world keeps celebrating. What if this passage was never about a wedding in Galilee, but about something waking up right now in your inner temple? By the end, there will be a simple practice to fill your own vessels and draw out what has been waiting. Here is the path. The wedding points inward. Mary carries a hidden roll. The 6 stone jars hold the blueprint, and the strange final line unlocks your first miracle. The old supply must fail, so the kingdom within can appear. John chapter 2, verse 1 opens with precision. And the 3rd day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. 2 details demand attention: the 3rd day, and Mary already present before the lack is named. The 3rd day is resurrection timing throughout Scripture. Jonah emerged from the fish on the 3rd day. Hosea wrote, "On the 3rd day he will raise us up, that we may live in his presence." The Christ pattern completes on the 3rd day, buried, then risen. John is not recording a calendar date. He is signaling that what unfolds at Cana follows the same shape as what happens in the tomb. Something must end so something can rise. Mary appears before the problem surfaces. In the allegory, she represents the intuitive sense, the gut knowing that perceives what the reasoning mind misses. John chapter 2, verse 1 places her at the scene ahead of the crisis because that is how intuition operates. It is already, quietly, in position before the lack becomes obvious. John chapter 2, verse 2 says Jesus and his disciples were called to the marriage. Called, invited. The inner Christ does not force entry. It waits for invitation. The disciples, inner faculties still in training, arrive with him. Then in John chapter 2, verse 3, the turn. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus saith unto him, They have no wine. 4 words from Mary. No panic, no solution offered, just the honest naming of what is gone. The intuitive sense speaks first. It notices the shortage before the reasoning mind catches up. It brings the lack, directly and without drama, to the one who can turn it. Feel where the well has gone dry in your own life right now. Not to fix it, just to see it. John chapter 2, verse 4 records Jesus' response to Mary. "Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come." This line has puzzled readers for centuries. Why does the one who can turn water into wine resist when the need is clearly named? The answer lives in 2 words: mine hour. The inner Christ operates on a different clock than the demanding mind. The anxious self wants change now, on its schedule, by its plan. But awakening has its own timing. In John chapter 2, verse 4, Jesus is not rejecting his mother. He is, beneath the words, instructing her. The turning cannot be forced. John chapter 2, verse 5 shows what happens next. His mother saith unto the servants, Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. Mary does not argue. She does not push back. She hears, Mine hour is not yet come, and responds not with protest, but with preparation. She turns to the servants and tells them to align with whatever instruction arrives. These are her final recorded words in all of Scripture. The intuitive sense names the lack, brings it to the source, and then steps back without demanding to control the outcome. It tells the inner workers to get ready. The servants represent the parts of you that carry out inner work. They do not need to understand first. They do not require explanation before they move. They wait for direction. John chapter 2, verse 5 positions them in readiness, the only posture that allows the miracle to unfold. John chapter 2, verse 1 called this gathering a marriage. In the allegory, the wedding points to a union taking place inside you, head and heart moving as one, the part that analyzes and the part that senses without needing proof. In most people, these two stay divided. The mind pulls one direction, the gut whispers something else. No union, only noise. The wedding at Cana marks the end of that war. John places resurrection timing, the third day, at the opening of a marriage scene because both events follow the same pattern. Something ends, something joins, something new that could not have appeared before rises into view. What happens when the gut and the reasoning mind stop fighting? What changes when intuition speaks and the inner workers obey? The next verses answer with 6 stone jars. John chapter 2, verse 6 introduces the vessels. And there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Every word carries weight. 6 water pots, made of stone, used for ritual washing, holding 20 to 30 gallons each. Why 6? In Scripture, 6 is the number of man and incompleteness. Man was formed on the 6th day. 6 days are given for labor before the 7th day of rest. 6 falls 1 short of 7, 1 short of completion, 1 short of the sacred. John chapter 2 verse 6 places 6 jars at the scene because they represent the human condition before something higher completes the work. Inner vessels still waiting, after all the ritual, for what comes next. Why stone? Under Jewish law, stone could not absorb impurity the way clay could. Clay pots, if defiled, had to be smashed. Stone stayed ritually clean. Stone lasted. Yet stone is also rigid. Stone is the tablets of the law. Stone is the outer system, able to hold water but unable, no matter how many washings, to turn what it holds into something living. The prophet Ezekiel spoke of this when God promised, "I will take away the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh." In John chapter 2 verse 6, the stone jars stand at the center of the first miracle because the old purification system is about to be replaced. Rigid outer cleansing gives way to inner transformation. John chapter 2 verse 6 adds one more detail. These jars were set there after the manner of the purifying of the Jews. They were not brought in for the wedding. They were already present, fixtures of the religious system, used for ritual hand-washing before meals. The old apparatus is in place. It simply needs to be filled with something new. 2 or 3 firkins apiece means 20 to 30 gallons per jar. 6 jars means 120 to 180 gallons total. Enormous capacity. The inner vessels are already large enough. What is missing is not more containers. What is missing is the instruction that fills them and the presence that changes what they hold. Where does this pattern live in you? Where has the form stayed intact while the spirit drained out? John chapter 2 verse 7 delivers the instruction. Jesus saith unto them, Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. The command is direct. Fill the vessels. Not halfway, not mostly, to the brim. No space left, no partial measure. The servants do not ask why. They do not demand explanation before they move. In John chapter 2 verse 7, the Greek phrase translated up to the brim means to the very top, leaving no room for anything else. Full attention, complete presence, nothing held back. Here is what most seekers miss. The turning requires the brim. Partial presence brings partial results. A divided mind, a scattered heart, a wandering attention, these leave room in the vessel. And where there is room, there is no miracle. Only the brim produces the wine. John chapter 2 verse 8 follows immediately. And he saith unto them, Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they bear it. No waiting period, no pause between filling and action. Fill to the brim, then draw out at once. The phrase, draw out now, deserves attention. The Greek word for draw is the same word used elsewhere for drawing water from a well. The servants are told to draw from what they just filled. They poured in water. They are commanded to draw out and carry it to the ruler for tasting. They do not yet know what they will be carrying. Between John chapter 2 verse 7 and John chapter 2 verse 8, there is no flash of light, no visible wonder, no moment where anyone watches water change color. The servants fill the jars with water. Then they draw out and carry it to the ruler. Somewhere in that unseen space between filling and drawing, water became wine. The turning happened in secret. Inner awakening works this way. You do not get to watch it happen. You fill the vessels with attention. You follow the instruction. You draw out, and what comes out has changed. The demanding self does not get to supervise. You bring the water. You draw out wine. The mystery stays hidden in the space between obedience and result. Where does attention leak right now? Where does the mind wander even as the body stays present? The vessels are already large enough. The question is whether they will be filled completely. John chapter 2 verse 9 reveals the divide at the heart of the passage. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew. Two groups at the same wedding. One tasted, one knew. The gap between them is the entire teaching. In John chapter 2 verse 9, the ruler of the feast was the master of ceremonies. His job was to oversee the meal, judge the quality of what was served, and keep the celebration moving. He tasted the wine and recognized immediately that it was excellent, but he knew not whence it was. He received the result without knowing the source. That is the thinking mind, the part of you that evaluates your days, scores your progress, decides whether life is working or falling apart. It tastes the fruit of awakening when awakening arrives. It notices when joy returns, when peace settles, when something opens inside. But it does not know where these things come from. It drinks the wine without knowing it was ever water. John chapter 2 verse 9 draws a hard line with the word but. The servants which drew the water knew. The Greek word for knew here means direct experiential knowledge, not theory, not second-hand report. The servants knew because they participated. They filled the jars. They drew out. They carried it to the ruler. They were present at every step except the turning itself. And that presence gave them access to something the ruler, standing at a distance and only tasting, could never have. The servants represent the parts of you that obey before understanding arrives. They do not demand proof first. They do not wait until the mechanism is explained. They hear the instruction and move. And because they move, they know. In John chapter 2 verse 10, the ruler speaks to the bridegroom. Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. He speaks it as praise, not realizing what he has just named. In the outer world, things run down. The good comes first and fades. The wine flows freely at the start, then weakens as the night wears on. Every system outside the inner temple follows this law. But John chapter 2 verse 10 reveals that something else operates by a different principle. The best is not at the beginning. The best is kept, held back, preserved for the exact moment when awareness is ready to receive it. Thou hast kept the good wine until now. The ruler speaks the word now without grasping its weight. In the allegory, now is not a clock position. It is the moment of awakening itself. The good wine does not arrive at some future date you must earn. It does not fade into some past you have missed. It is kept until now, the only moment where turning actually happens. Which part has been running your life? The ruler who tastes and judges but never knows the source? Or the servant who obeys, draws out, and therefore knows? John chapter 2 verse 11 closes the scene. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. The word translated beginning is the Greek arche, meaning origin, source, first pattern. John is not simply numbering the miracles. He is declaring that Cana is the template. Every awakening that follows carries this same shape. Look at what the template contains. In John chapter 2, verse 3, Mary names the lack. They have no wine. In John chapter 2, verse 5, she records obedience without understanding. Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. John chapter 2, verse 7 commands full attention. Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. John chapter 2, verse 8 moves from filling to drawing without delay. Draw out now. John chapter 2, verse 9 separates those who taste from those who know. And John chapter 2, verse 10 reveals the law that governs the inner life. Thou hast kept the good wine until now. The whole passage moves from empty to full, from water to wine, from outer ritual to inner turning. The 6 stone jars described in John chapter 2, verse 6, the old system, rigid and incomplete, become the vessels through which something living finally appears. The servants obey before they understand. The ruler tastes without knowing. And the disciples, John chapter 2, verse 11 says, believed. What did they believe? Not that Jesus could perform tricks. John says they saw his glory. The Greek word is doxa, the visible radiance of divine nature made manifest. Glory was always present. At Cana, for the first time, it became visible. That is what happens inside you when the turning completes. What was hidden becomes seen. What was waiting becomes real. See how every piece fits. The third day signals resurrection timing. Something must end before something can rise. Mary is the gut sense that names the lack before the head catches up. The phrase, "Mine hour is not yet come," teaches that awakening cannot be forced. The stone jars are the rigid purification system, large enough but unable to transform what it holds. The servants are the inner faculties that obey without demanding proof. The ruler is the thinking mind that tastes results without knowing their source. And the good wine kept until now is the promise, not fading into the past, not locked in some future, but available at the moment of waking. The wedding was never about 2 strangers in Galilee. It was about head and heart joining inside you. Mary was never just a mother asking for help. She was intuition naming what was missing. The stone jars were the old apparatus waiting to be filled with something alive. The servants were the parts of you that obey and therefore know. And the good wine kept until now? That is what waits inside you. The best has been kept. Here is the practice. First, sit in stillness and speak inwardly. The good wine has been kept for now. Let those words land in the chest. Do not rush past them. Stay until they settle. Second, bring attention to the inner vessels, the 6 spaces stacked from the base of the spine to the crown of the skull. Notice which one feels most ready to receive. Rest there. Breathe into that space and, with full attention, fill it to the brim. Third, return to the one area of life where the well had gone dry, the place you named at the very beginning. Do not force anything. Simply draw out. Take one small action from the place of fullness and watch what comes. The servants did not see water turn to wine. They drew out and found the turning had already happened. The best has been kept. The vessels are filled. Now draw out and taste what has been waiting all along.